was so fabulous, wasn't it? It was so sweet to look out at your faces. You looked like you were in heaven. And this fits so perfectly with the topic for this whole month, which I'll get to in just a minute. I just want to welcome everybody, first of all, and introduce myself. I'm Reverend Karyl Huntley. If I haven't met you yet, that's who I am, the spiritual leader here. Honored to serve with everyone here. You're at a spiritual community whose vision is awakening personal transformation and whose mission is teaching tools for positive change. So our whole theme for this whole year is right up here, Your Joyous Life, which is something that we all deserve to have. And we're following this book right here, the Happiness Project. And each of the chapters has a theme to it that we follow too. So the author has actually I think is the unlikely month of August to talk about eternity, because she said that August is the time that she and her family go on holiday. And so she gets out of her regular day-to-day existence, and she can kind of submerge herself into timeless thoughts better than when she's in her day-to-day work. So that's great. And what I want for us is for our everyday atmosphere to be this wonderful experience of eternity, which is what I'm trying to do for this month, is to suggest ways that we can do that. The theme for the month is Eternity is Now. And that means it's now and it's forever. Every single now moment is a moment in eternity. And the analogy that I kind of liked that I came up with last week, I want to share with you if you weren't here last week, and that is that this earthly life is kind of like a bubble in an entire atmosphere or a sea of eternity. So we are in eternity right now, even though we are in this bubble of earthly life, but we came from eternity, we're in eternity now, and we are going to go back to the eternal place, space, dimension, when we leave this earthly life. But right here, we're in this wonderful, beautiful, beautiful bubble of earthly life that is in the middle of eternity. And because we're so busy with our day-to-day life, the goal for this month is to, why am I not doing this? This is not working. Mary, can you advance it one? So that's the theme for the month, is Eternity is Now. And then one more time, please. And that is, the goal for the month is to touch eternity. And so what I want us to realize is that many things, however you feel eternity. I mean, like right now, I had a conversation with a member of our community this morning on my way to church. She's one of my practitioners, Catherine McCarthy, whose mama passed in the last 24 hours. And so she was telling me about that beautiful, sad, and beautiful experience, which is right in touching eternity. She got to touch eternity through her mama telling her that she loved her. On, the last conversation she had was on the phone with her, where she said she loved her mom, and her mom said, "I love you." And she said, "She has not said that to me in years and years and years." So, very amazing heavenly moment. So, in this month, we wanted kind of move into that place of knowing that the mystery of life is safe. We're safe always. We're safe coming in, going out, breathing as we're here. Everything's safe. And that we have some practices to get us back to this feeling of safety and security and peace and faith and love and joy when we forget. So, title please. The title for today is to establish a mindfulness practice. And I want to draw your attention now to Gailya's beautiful, beautiful altar, which has, I love this position of the Buddha really speaking to me of mindfulness, just being in the moment and being blissed out. So thank you, Gailya, so much. It's a beautiful altar. So I want to refer us back to the mission that I mentioned at the beginning of the talk. The mission that the reason or how we accomplish our vision is to teach tools for positive change. So as I look at the breadth of our teaching, these tools fall into two basic camps. There's two kinds of spiritual tools that we are all using and practicing and getting more skillful at. The first set of tools is how we can be more masterful and happier in our life by learning how to co-create what delights us. It's by learning how to use the law effectively. That's the way we say it. If any of this resonates with you and you'd like to know more about it, then you get on Sunday mornings. Please, please enroll in a class. We're going to have our classes come due for enrollment in just next week, I think. You'll have an ability to enroll for fall classes. So as we've been going through this book, the first 7 themes, January through July, have to do with this ability to co-create our lives the way we want it. To review those themes, they were vitality, relationships, work, family, leisure, friendship, and money. All of those have to do with managing our earthly life and getting it so we like it. And in this teaching, the way we do it is not to manipulate things out there, but to shift on the inside this thing that we call consciousness. Our consciousness is a sum total of our beliefs and experience and attitudes and, probablys that we carry through life. And so what happens when we shift our consciousness, we learn how to become the person that experiences what we want to experience. Do you see that? We're changing. We're not. It looks like life is changing because it kind of conforms to what we want. But the skills have to do with us changing on the inside so that we become the person who gets to experience what we want to experience. The word that sums it up for me is mastery. When we have that, we have mastery. We don't have mastery over, but we have mastery within this earthly life. This month, in the book, everything changes because the theme of eternity is about the other major lesson, which is about oneness, feeling into our connection with all that is. So because I think these two sets of skills are so important, I compiled this book. It's in the bookstore. It's called Oneness and Mastery. It's about 50 quotes that exemplify each one, and I'm going to read 2 of them, and you can tell how different the skills are. The first one is about mastery, and it's from John O'Donoghue. Each day, our tribe of language holds what we call the world together. Yet the uttering of the word reveals how each of us relentlessly creates. Everyone is an artist. Each person brings sound out of silence and coaxes the invisible to become visible. Now, the feeling state of that, compare it with this from John Muir. When we try to pick out anything by itself, we find it hitched to everything else in the universe. So, very different feeling state, and that's what our teaching is all about. How to master ourselves so that we love our life, and how to move into an awareness that all is one. We are one with everybody, everything, every good, and we are definitely one with God. So these 2 skills, sets of skills, are what we teach over and over and over and over and over and over again. So up until now, in this whole year, we have been working on how to shift our consciousness so we become the person that lives the life we want. This month, with eternity, we are moving into that experience of living in the timeless realm where we feel connected to all there is, and we experience all the time those eternal qualities of love, peace, joy, and beauty, and realize that goodness is available to us every single moment, not in a specific way that we order up, but in general. We just have this feeling that we are safe and happy and good, and we are in a good life, we're in a safe life, we're in a supportive life, that life guides, directs, enfolds us, and that God is within, and we are within God, and all of that. And often it's without thought. In fact, that's the goal of meditation. That's what we see in the Buddha right here. Deepak Chopra calls it slipping into that space in between the thoughts, where we have no thought, where we are transcended into that place of absolute oneness. So that's why the beginning of the service was so different today. That's why the opening song was the meditation that we have. That's why Janet, you know, I tried to think, were you on this Sunday before we had this theme?
Yes.
That's so great. That is so, thank you. That, I mean, that's oneness for you. So, oh, that's so great. So when we're in this state, there's no past, there's no future, there's just now. And it's actually kind of silly to talk about it, but I've got about 15 more minutes to go, so I'm going to talk about it. But what's interesting is that it happens naturally when we're in the present moment. And it doesn't seem to make any difference whether we are in intense pleasure or intense pain. When we're in the present moment, we are in this place of eternity. And so I was going to read to you a bunch of things in this book, but I'm not going to now. Just remember, you must have had a very, very, very down moment when God happened. You know, anybody that is hit bottom, that's what happens. You're unhappy, 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 and then boom, you kind of pop into the now moment, which is heavenly. And Matthew Fox calls it the via negativa. The via positiva will get you there, the via negativa will get you there, and it's kind of like, well, good, let's just get there. So, but I want to talk about why we want to get there. Why do we want to slip into eternity and in this now moment? And the bunch of words that go with this, it's good for us physically, emotionally, it's good for our sleep, it's good for our heart, it supports our attitudes that contribute to life satisfaction. It encourages to have more pleasure in the good stuff and less pain in the bad stuff. It encourages us to worry less, to have less self-focus and greater connection to each other. And it also feels the best of anything we experience. Now, I know that some of you are thinking about some things that are pretty darn pleasurable, but better than any of that is this time when we slip into the oneness with God. This feeling of oneness and peace and joy and wanting nothing. It's the same thing when we talk about grace. In the vernacular, it's when we talk about a natural high. It's nirvana when we're in the Eastern philosophies. It's heaven when we're in the Western philosophies. It feels so good. And when we're a beginner seeker, often we are given this gift of a moment of grace, sort of like a hook. It's kind of like God says, okay, baby, here's the feeling, now I've gotcha. And we seek after that feeling all of our life. And that's the feeling of eternity. So people have this experience in all kinds of ways. One time I was in a class in college, and we were asking, what is the best high you've ever had, the natural high? What is a peak experience? What's your peak experience that you go back to all the time? Well, this guy was in the class, and he said, you know, I was on a Bronco, a beautiful Bronco, and he threw me. And I was underneath him. I looked up, and all 4 hooves were right above me. And then he didn't step on me. That was the high moment of his life. Now, I can't, anybody had that experience? Well, we will have to hear about that later, Bernard. But if you can imagine that, if you can imagine the intense now moment that is, the now moment with the hooves above your face, and then the now moment with the horse down the corral, you can imagine that intense relief and that feeling of being ushered into that moment of heaven. And it's actually, when we've had one of those moments, it's why we do everything after that. Everything. It's why we have relationships, because it really does feel good to be one with your partner, and that approximates it, so that we like that. We like all kinds of physical pleasure. We like good food because that pleasure approximates the pleasure of God. We travel, we pray, we meditate, we enter the work we do, we participate in the hobbies we do, because we want to get closer and closer and closer to that feeling of that immense, intense sense of well-being. And ironically, it is also the reason that we participate in addiction, because our life feels so far from that intense well-being, and we want that intense well-being so much that we cover up the pain of not having it with anything that dulls the pain. So that's why we seek after this experience of oneness with God. And if we practice going into the present moment over and over and over and over again, it gets easier. So, Mary, the next one. The lesson today is how to establish a mindfulness practice. This is the simplest thing in the whole wide world. It is so simple. And it's just one way. I mean, it's just the way that came to me. It's the way that I do it. But in the bookstore, you go to the bookstore and they'll give you 6 books on how to establish a mindfulness practice. But this is a pretty easy one. First of all, you choose a solitary practice that you already do. See, that I'm lazy. I like to piggyback my spiritual practice on something I'm already doing. I have a much greater chance of doing it then. So you choose something that you already do by yourself. And that could be having a cup of coffee in the morning. That could be a walk in nature in the morning. That could be your shower. That could be waiting for the bus. It can be anything that you do by yourself and you do it consistently. So I have 2 examples, one ridiculous and one sublime. This is adorable. This is our author, our little sweet author that has given us 7 months of how-to. So she says, I noticed that if I put the word meditation after any activity, it suddenly seemed much more high-minded and spiritual. When waiting for the bus, I'd tell myself I was doing the bus waiting meditation. And in the slow line at the drugstore, I was doing the waiting in line meditation. So try it. And then this one. This is the truly high-minded one. This is from Thich Nhat Hanh. You should know how to breathe to maintain mindfulness, as breathing is a natural and extremely effective tool which can prevent dispersion. Breath is the bridge which connects life to consciousness, which unites your body to your thoughts. Whenever your mind becomes scattered, use your breath as the means to take hold of your mind again. So that is, you establish something that you do by yourself all the time. And it could be just standing there and breathing. I mean, you actually do that all the time, and it is a solitary experience. You're just breathing yourself. Then when you are in this solitary experience, you simply notice your surroundings. That helps bring you into the present moment. And then next, you suggest truth to yourself. Anything, like a little mantra, like God and I are one. You can do that at the waiting for the bus meditation. God and I are one. God and I are one. If you get bored with what I'm saying, you can do the sitting in church meditation. God and I are one. That's just one thing you could say. Spirit enfolds me. Spirit enfolds me. You can say, if you're focusing on your breath, I breathe and then God breathes me. That's a beautiful one. I breathe. And then with no effort at all, God breathes me. I breathe, God breathes. I breathe, God breathes. Another one is, life is beautiful right now. Any short statement of truth you say to yourself, and that's one of the powers of the day books. That's one of the powers of the Science of Mind magazine with the daily meditation, but there's lots and lots and lots and lots of day books that have daily meditations. That's the way you use it. You take that spiritual truth and you say it during the day. So then the very last piece is repeat. That's it. That's it. If you could do this 10 times a day, your life would just shift immediately. Pick a solitary activity, tell yourself the truth, and do it again. So what happens, of course, is that our mind, especially in the beginning, is yappy, 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 yappy. And even while you're repeating your spiritual truth, your mind is off noticing things. Then I love this saying. This came to me from my first meditation teacher. And the saying is, bring the puppy back to the paper. When you're training a puppy and the puppy has a mistake, you do not berate the puppy. You don't scold the puppy. You bring the puppy back to the paper. And you do it over and over again. You bring the puppy back to the paper. And that's what you do with your mind. You bring the puppy back to the paper. You bring your mind back to the spiritual truth gently. That's all you need to do. So, our mission, teaching tools for positive change. This is a tool for positive change. This simple practice can change your life. And it is what every saint, avatar, ascended being, master of in any way has done. This is it. Get in the now moment and repeat the spiritual truth. That's what Buddha's doing right there. Being in the now moment, repeating the spiritual truth. Keeping your mind, my mind, the one mind centered in the oneness and living there, one step at a time. And if you do this at all, it's better than not doing it. So that's what one step at a time is. One mindfulness moment. You do it once today. You do it once tomorrow. Maybe the next day you'll do it twice. So before the service started, Bodhi brought me this plastic bag with little green fava beans in it. And he told me that these were the beans of the beans that we had done from a ritual. This is the second generation of the spiritual beans. Wow. So what this tells me is it's the perfect message for life on earth and spiritual oneness. We are seeking after the experience of spiritual oneness. And on earth, we always have the next time. This is the next time for these spiritual beings. We have the next time. We get upset, we get angry, we have the next time. We have the next time and the next time as long as we're breathing. We have the next time. This makes our journey here on earth so much nicer. And that's what I want for all of us. Blessed be. And the going deeper is, and this is what we're after, every moment I live in the truth that Spirit enfolds me. So for the inner work, and I'm going to say just a little preview before I take you into the inner work. I was looking at a whole bunch of spiritual truths as I was doing this talk, because I thought, you know, I just want to give them the experience. I want to give them the experience. I don't want to talk about it. And then I was able to talk about it for 25 minutes. But what I came up with was this wonderful saying from the Gospel of Thomas. I think it's probably the most often quoted quote from the Gospel of Thomas that was found, you know, with the Dead Sea Scrolls in Qumran. And it's most often translated as this: if you give forth of what is within you, what you give forth will save you. If you do not give forth what is within you, what you do not give forth will destroy you. But I found a translation I like even better. And so the same message for the inner work. When you give birth to one voice, one self, among the many in yourselves, that redeemed voice will redeem you, bringing you closer to unity with the oneness. When you fail to find that self within you, it becomes part of what is killing you, taking you further from your life's purpose. And so for the practice, we breathe in and you sprout the divine seed within you, your one voice. And you breathe out, and you are the seed falling to earth. You breathe in and know the one voice is the voice of God within you, always true, always empowering. And you breathe out, giving the voice to the world, God's words through you. These are the words to create, to heal, and to move the world to peace. You are the light of the world, and the light fills your voice that is given to all humankind. Blessed be.